Yourself first allows you to understand and believe that you are worthy of love, affection, and the good things in life. Hi, this is Clarity Coach Lucy, and this is Tuesday Talks at 3. Welcome to our September series, which is Value Thyself series. I am so super excited that we are here in this space and that we are able to figure out who we are. And if not, the question today is, who are you? Or do you know who you are? This beautiful space is called Value Thyself series, and it is a 4-part series. And as I am super excited, I am just reminded that things will not work out unless you do. So for me, it's important that I work out, and I do hope the same message comes across to you, that things have to be okay, things have to be fine for them to work out, and only then will you be able to move. So those things that have to be okay are about you. You need to know who you are. You need to know where you're coming from. You need to know how to plug into yourself so that you can really have a true potential. Just arrive at that true potential of self. Well, with this 4-part series, we are looking at episode 1, which we did. And if you missed out on episode 1, all is not lost. You can go and visit my YouTube channel, which is LMC Consultancy, and get episode 1 there, and just drop a few comments there for us to be able to know that you're understanding, you're resonating, it's making sense, the message is relevant to you. So that's episode 1. We are now in episode 2. And in episode 2, we're talking about being true to self. And we'll be unpacking and seeing what that means. Then episode 3 goes on to focusing on possibilities. Those possibilities that you have in life for self, about self, just around self. What does it mean for you? So it'll be about focusing on possibilities. Then we will close off with celebrating our value. Yeah, celebrating our value. So as you celebrate your value, that means you will have understood something about yourself. You see, to understand about yourself, you need to get the fact that yourself is your true identity. That is a true identity. Unlike the identity that we like to perhaps at times show up for others, for whatever sake, the person that we need to show up as, the true identity is yourself. And we'll say this over and over until we get it right. Because as it has been proven in statistics, only 10% of people truly know who they are and therefore apply it effectively. So in what percentage are you, in the 10% or the 90%? And it doesn't matter, because it is something, and when I say it doesn't matter, I mean it is something you can acquire, something you can teach yourself, you can learn. It is something that you can work on to just understand who self is. Yeah. So we are looking at those 4 areas. This is Value Thyself. It's a 4-part series this September, and I do hope that you will join me, so that when we actually understand who we are, so that we can value ourselves, we'll be able to explain why we behave in certain ways. There are some things that happen, and at times we're like, why would I do that? But for you to be able to understand, yes, I am choosing to do this, is something else. It's something very different from things just happening to you, or without a plan, without a think through. Now, when you understand who you are, and I'm still work in progress, so I'm loving that I am here and chatting with you. When you are work in progress, just like I am, you need to be able to understand what valuing yourself is. And with the introduction, I said it first allows you to understand and, just believe that you are worthy of love and so many other things. So let's talk about let's value ourselves in unplugging what that means. Let's value ourselves in unplugging what that means. Okay, so to be able to do that, let's look at anything that is material that we value. How do we arrive at this point of making a decision that this thing is valuable to me? You see, when we value something, it's because of the knowledge that we have about this thing at that very moment. Remember and be cognizant of the fact that over time, our ideas change, our information changes, we evolve. That's the word. Over time, we evolve. And when we evolve, we get more information or more things to refer to. And these help us to make different types of decisions. So the decision that you're making now, perhaps as a teenager, is very different from what you will make in your early 20s or in your 30s, very different from what you make in your 40s and your 50s. And all this is because life happens. And you're part of all these experiences. And so we evolve. Where some things will remain basic and foundational, we evolve. And when we evolve, it changes our perspectives, whether for the good or for the bad of us, but it changes our perspective. So back to value. When we value something, it's because of the information that we have about it. And we've worked out the pros and the cons about this thing, and we make a decision and we feel good or comfortable or knowing that that's the decision that we needed to make here now. And we make it and we move forward with that decision. So in this case, the value is that worth. The worth of the things that we have come to know and we have put together. Whatever it is for you, just put it in there as something that is materialistic. It'll help you to move forward with where I'm going with this thinking. So I want us to turn the light on ourselves. And I'd ask you a question. How do you know that you know yourself? So that you can be able to value yourself. Because you've got to know something before you value it. In the same way that you were in a shop and you held up this vase or whatever it is, and you looked at it from different angles and you asked all these questions and you were given some guarantees, and then you look at the price and you think, yeah, this is worth this or it's not. So you've got to know yourself. So hold yourself up in the light or in front of a mirror and just look at yourself all 360. And when I talk 360, I'm talking about what we touched on in episode 1, your characteristic, your mind, your behavior, whatever it is about you. Just put yourself up to this light and see, when you look at yourself, do you know self? Are you able to do that? Are there certain areas that still need to be described or worked on? Are there certain areas that need to be gotten rid of? And when you put it all together, what kind of value do you give to self? And remember, whatever it is then manifested by behavior or through behavior. So it is important that you absolutely understand who you are. And if not, you start this journey towards self-awareness. So to help us further along, I would like us to list down pros and cons about self, so to speak. So, and this will have to be along the lines of characteristics. Because if you remember last week, we looked at characteristics, and that meant that they could be positive or negative about you, whatever it is. And this actually is a sum of who you are. So I'd like us to just look at our own personal pros and cons. And it's not about your mind, it's not about your personality, it's not about your behavior, it's about your characteristic. So how would you describe that? So put it down. Are you a happy-go-lucky person? Are you a grumpy person? Are you a pessimist? Are you a doer? Are you a follower? Whatever it is, I want us to be able to put those down. Now, for the sake of this exercise, so that we can be all on the same page, I'd like you to take 2 pieces of paper. On one paper, I would like you to populate 3 things that you are super proud about yourself and you'll be very happy to introduce yourself as. On another piece of paper, I would like you then to put down 3 things that you are not happy about yourself, things that happen and you're not so jazzed about. Just put those down. And as you populate this, I want you to think about the emotions. Now you're putting it down on paper. I want you to look at these emotions that then come up. What emotion is coming up for you when you put in that word that is positive, and that word that is negative, or that word that is good, and that word that is negative, not so good about you? What are the emotions that come up? Embrace those emotions, but just take a moment to allow them to kick in so that you know that they are there and that they do exist. Now, this is you applying some value or beginning to attach some value to who you are. That means you are describing it. You have put yourself up to this light or to this mirror, and you are describing it. You know, many a time we've had this conversation where somebody is seeking counsel, and you go up and you say, you know, I want some advice. There's this thing that is happening to me, and I want to be able to move forward, or I want to be able to understand, or I want to be able to get an insight. Whatever it is, you're seeking counsel. And most of the time, whoever you're seeking counsel from may come back to you with, be yourself. Be yourself. Very simplistic. Be yourself. It's supposed to be a very easy thing, isn't it? You see, it's a common phrase. And when somebody says to you, be yourself, what does that mean for you? Be yourself. So take a moment right now and just think about what you have populated on those 2 papers. And somebody has said, be yourself. Are you asking yourself, who am I? Because that should be the question that you should be asking yourself, so that you can qualify what being yourself is. So who are you? If those 2 papers are the ones now that are allowing you to see who you are, because one piece of paper has got all the positive things that you have put down, and another piece of paper has got all those things that are perhaps negative or room for improvement areas that you have. This is where you're coming in with understanding already who you are when somebody casually says, be yourself. So in accepting to be yourself means that you are accepting your light and your dark sides. And that is why you have those 2 papers that you're working on. So we must strive to know both sides. Last week in the episode, if you were with me, you will have realized that I did say you needed to embrace your good and your bad side. The minute that you ignore your bad side, or ignore your weak side, or you ignore your shadow self, because this is what I was calling it, your shadow. The minute you ignore it, you're running into trouble, because you need to be able to name it so that you can tame it. So for this exercise, as you have those 2 sheets of paper, I just want you to pick one characteristic which you're not so happy about, one that needs a lot of improvement. I want you to pick it up. Remember, with every characteristic that we put down, we are recognizing the emotions that it evokes. So I'm going to give you an example just for the sake of this exercise, so at least we are on the same page, because it can get a bit overwhelming when you're stepping into that place of embracing your dark side. Embracing our dark side is very scary, because when we embrace our dark side, we tend to think that it is evil, that we shouldn't be going that way. Society has socialized us to believe that we can only talk about our good sides, that we should not be entertaining our bad sides. Well, I'm here to say that you are a sum of both your good and your bad. I mean, you want to call it strengths and weaknesses, whatever floats your boat, whatever it is, there has to be a positive and a negative, because nobody is perfect. So as you're looking at that shadow self of yours, pick one thing, just one thing on that list. Remember, your list had 3 that you had populated. Just pick one. Now that you have picked one, look at it and remember the emotions. Remember the emotions there that are coming when you're saying this. Just put it there. You need to be able to name it. And once you name it, then, oh, I love this. I've got Lil Miss Sunshine. You're saying, I hope this will be recorded. You need to name it to tame it. Fantastic. Yes, you need to name it, sorry. So let me give you an example. If you pick that one characteristic that you're not so jazzed about, I want you to ask yourself, what is the alternate characteristic to this? And when I mean alternate, what is the opposite? So if it is black, then we're looking at white. You get my drift now. So let me give you an example. Let me use the word jealous. So in this example, the alternate of jealous could be happy, could be proud of somebody, could be pleased, could be ecstatic. Let's use that for our sake here now. So the word is jealous. So how do I feel when I am jealous? How do I feel when I am jealous? That's your second question. Because the first one is, what is the alternate characteristic of that word? Whatever word that you picked. And already as you're doing that, all these emotions are coming up. They're either fighting it, they're either embracing it, but something is happening right there. Be aware of it and just tune into it, because this is you. This is you. So how do I feel when I am jealous? Now, the body tends to speak to you in many ways when you're going through certain things, and mostly emotions. So I want you to think about your body language. When you're jealous, that is my word. What is your word? XXX. So when you're jealous, is your body tightening up? Are your pupils dilated when you look at somebody? Are you shaking? Is there a thin sweat on your skin? Whatever it is, that's your body speaking to you. So you need to be aware, not only of your emotions, but you need to be aware of how your body is responding to this word, or whenever it is, it comes up. Something is happening, boom, you're feeling that one word that you feel needs improvement, area of improvement in your life. And for now, we're using the word jealous. The next question is, how can I change my narrative to the alternative? Remember, the alternative or the alternate was happy, was proud, was pleased. What is your alternate? And I'd love for you to share with me here on the chat, what word have you come up with that needs improvement in your life? What is that word that is in your shadow? That word that today, together, we are engaging. So I'm using the word jealous, and the alternate word perhaps is happy. I'm happy for somebody. I'm not jealous about them. I'm happy when something happens. So how do I feel when I'm jealous? My body does this thing. Maybe my words would be, why not me? Why them? Why always them? So why not me? Why doesn't it happen to me? Why am I not gifted in that way? Perhaps somebody, what do I love? I love somebody who can play music, play an instrument, I beg your pardon. And I just absolutely love it when I hear someone play the piano or play the guitar. So perhaps I am not happy about it. Perhaps I am jealous. And therefore the words that come through is, why them? Why are they gifted? You know, perhaps they come from a family that is able to afford to take them to these schools. These are words that are telling you how you are reacting. And then there's also the meaning to it. What meaning comes up? So what meaning comes up? So did you hear those three things right then? Your body reacts. Your language also reacts. It responds. And then there's a meaning that you put in your mind, and that's where it stays. And that's where this meaning stays. And this keeps on fueling this word that you feel is your shadow. And I really would love to just engage with you here now. What word are you struggling with? And as you struggle with this word, is it something that we can work on together in this particular session of Tuesday Talks at 3? Because we want now to be able to change that narrative to the alternate. How do we change the word jealous to happy? What do we need to do? It's actually a very simple process. And this is the process of you knowing yourself and being able to know when it is time to change. It is the right time to change. And yes, like Little Miss Sunshine says, you gotta name it to tame it. So as we are naming it, we're gonna tame it every day. It takes 21 days to form a habit. So every day we're going to do something with this little one word, and we're going to make sure there's some actions going towards it. So we know how our body reacts. We know the words that come in. We just start to change the words. We start to change our mind. We start to change our behavior, one thing at a time. I'd love to know from you whether this is helpful for you, and if it is something that you are willing to try. And we can always hear back from you here on IG Live and on Facebook to how it helped you. And you just have to do your shadow. This helped me with, and then tell us about it. Because somebody somewhere is waiting to hear from you. Somebody somewhere is waiting to know that you are experiencing it and that it's okay that they experience it too and they have growth. So as you figure out who your shadow is, or what your shadow is, or how you can feel your shadow coming up, because at times the word doesn't come up, but it's the body feeling that starts to become part of you, and you start to feel it. You just know something's coming. But because you are self-aware, you're already connecting it. Oops, my emotions are getting the better of me. I can change this narrative, and I can be happy for this person. I can change this narrative and stop being a pessimist and move to being an optimist. I can change this narrative from being grumpy to being the life of a party. I can change this narrative from judging someone to celebrating somebody. It's in your power. We're talking about being true to yourself. And you can only be true to yourself if you know what value you have inside of you. You need to understand and believe that you are indeed worthy of love, affection, and good things. Well, you cannot exist on your own as an island. There's always people around you. There's an environment around you. Even your thoughts are the things that are around you. So social support is a big thing. And I like to call this relationship versus things. So as you're attaching value to self, you need to know what your social support is. And that is a number of people who are around you. What kind of people do you surround yourself with? Is it people who just brought themselves and therefore attach themselves to you? Or is it people that you handpicked? You chose. And even if they did attach themselves to you, did you then audit them and figure out this is the person I need, and then do away with the people that you do not need? Well, for you to be able to do that, you need to understand what you want. You need to understand who you are. Because by the time you were doing that, you are knowing that if I bring in person A, this is how they are going to positively impact my life. And that is what is important. So seek like-minded people only because you want to be able to understand one another. That could be one person in the group. The other person could be an alternate, someone who doesn't think like you because you want to be challenged. It takes courage to bring in challenge to your circle. It takes a lot of courage because many of us want to believe that we are right, want to believe that we are on the right track, and we do not take criticism or challenge positively. Choose people who challenge you and choose people who are like you. That's two people already in your group. You may choose people who are analytic, who are going to ask you questions that make you uncomfortable. Well, with this discomfort comes growth. Important to note, with this discomfort comes growth. The minute you are comfortable in any situation, you are already in your comfort zone. So someone who pushes you, someone who dares you, someone who makes you question your beliefs, you want to have that person in your group. It is important. But then that is their part. That you've brought in these people and they play that part. What about you? What part do you play in this social support of relationships so that you can be true to yourself? It's about listening. It's about listening. It's about being present. It's about taking in somebody else's perspective, seeing things from a different angle. That is your part in this relationship so that you can be true to self. Give of yourself the time so that you can listen and be present. You may have people around you and all you want is just noise, but there's no growth in that space. You want people who are impacting you and people who are making you better. It's also important for you to listen to your gut. Now, every time you have an engagement with someone and you step away, question yourself, what did I gain from that engagement? And just listen to your gut. Your gut will speak the truth. Because even when we are told, be yourself, you do realize that people show you who they are. And at times you are in denial. You don't want to accept that person is in that way. And that's what's coming from your gut. Listen to your gut. If you want, then make ways of questioning yourself about your gut. But listen to it. Listen to it. I hope that is making sense. Today we are in the world of social media. And there's a lot of postings, a lot of groups that we belong to. And we just read and we swipe, and we read and we swipe. We read and we swipe. If it is on Facebook, on Instagram, LinkedIn, we like and we swipe. We like and we swipe. How about responding? Responding with purpose to those people who are in your inner circle. Respond with something that is going to grow the both of you. So that you're coming from a place of knowing you have read, you have listened to somebody, and you are communicating. And the other person is going to feel heard, is going to feel understood, is going to feel relevant. And I'm sure this is what you want. In your social support, you also have to be vulnerable. Open up your heart to your close-knit group. These are the connections that you need. Because as you value yourself, you are growing just with the interaction of other people. So you want to choose to be authentic in your engagements for a richer life. This is important for you, because remember, today we're looking at being true to self. And once you are true to self in this way, from an authentic point of view, you find that you have an alignment with things in your life. And mostly it is your core values. Well, we've looked at three things. We've looked at your worth, and we looked at the pros and cons, and you created 2 pieces of paper. We've looked at your shadow. So on one of those pieces of paper you populated with 3 things that you are perceiving or saying are your dark sides or your shadow. And then now we've got these connections that we're making with self and with others. And I'm saying to you today that your worth, your shadow, and your connections equals you. This is you understanding how you can be true to self. These are 3 areas that you can already work on. There are more. But in the interest of time, these are areas that you can work on. And I encourage you, because it is so profound how there's an alignment to your values. And you can live in this sweet spot. It is a sweet spot because you're comfortable knowing who you are. And no matter where you show up, you know that you are in control of self. If somebody tries to lead you in a certain path, you question yourself, your gut feeling, your values. You try to ask yourself, my dark side, whatever it is. You have a conversation with self. And then you make a decision as to whether you want to go down that road or not. It makes for rich conversations, engagement. You're no longer arguing in a conversation. What you're doing is you are engaging, you're bringing your A game to the table. And you walk away feeling refreshed and rejuvenated. So you become an inspiration to people. And from there, it just gets bigger and bigger, because then people now want to be part of your conversations because you are confident in self, and you also want to learn from other people because you want to know this other perspective. You want to understand. Whatever is presented to you, you are able to take it to another level. So share with us, yeah? I'm just looking at... I am just looking at the feed here. I'm not seeing anything that has come through today. The question is, do you know yourself? And so we are looking at being true to self. And if any of this is resounding with you, it's just ringing up with you, you're like, wow, 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 share with us. Yeah, so what stops us in this growth? Because now we've got our worth. Now we've got our understanding of connections, and now we've got understanding of our shadow. What stops us from moving forward? You see, I will say this to you. External forces, and read society here, will always dictate to you what your life should be. But once you know your purpose, you know your reason for being, then you will listen to society saying what you should be, and you will take it with a pinch of salt and take it under advisement and apply where you can. But you already know who you are. So if there are areas of improvement, come on, let me just pick up from the environment, pick in and build on me, and I can grow. So what stops us? Because it sounds so easy, I beg your pardon. It's that thing of external forces fighting to bring in their narrative. And if you remember from episode 1, I was encouraging you to write your own story so that you are in charge of your narrative. We want to be able to be in charge of our narrative so that when we have any external or new narrative, we are able to look at it subjectively. We look at it for what it is. We don't take it personally, or like we say in Kenyanese, we don't catch feelings. Well, I'll say to you, there are 2 things that hold us back from this growth, and one of them is the fear of not being accepted. The fear of not being accepted. You may say to me, Lucy, oh, I've got that down pat. I have no fear when it comes to acceptance. Well, I challenge you, and I want to say that if you are the smartest person in the room, then yes, there's no fear there. I mean, you don't worry that people will not accept you. You're the smartest. I then encourage you that in your group, in your connections, that you have people who are smarter than you in your connection, in your inner circle. And you will start to get those feelings of wanting to be accepted. They will creep up. You're human. And that's okay. But here we are growing. It's that fear of not being accepted. It's not so much that we want to be accepted or validated, because this is then the challenge. We need to be able to embrace who we are, and we step into the room as we are. And that fear begins to diminish. You begin to take the power away from it. The fear of being misunderstood, especially when we are dealing with the youth, they will say to you that I am misunderstood. My question always to youth when they say this to me is, have you told the world who you are? And if you are, that means you know who you are. We go back to self, that true identity which is self. You see how it keeps on coming back. So what are you doing for yourself when it comes to your true identity? I submit that you must be true to self. Because when you are true to self, you are accepting the things that you know about yourself or the things that you don't know about yourself, and you are able to deal with your dark side. You are able to deal with your dark side. Well, I do hope that that session where we are able to see those 3 areas of our lives help you with tools to be able to start being true to yourself. And I would love to leave you with 3 takeaways, and I read the 3 takeaways. The first one is know your worth and manifest it. Remember how we're holding up the vase in the light and asking the questions and looking at the price underneath? Do that to yourself so that you can know your worth. Understand your shadow by naming it and taming it. Don't be afraid of your shadow. Bring it on. Speak to it. Allow it to be there so that you know what action you need to do to either neutralize it or convert it into a strength. And then create and connect with your inner circle. We need to create and connect with the inner circle, which is important, very important for you. Thank you so much for joining me today on Tuesday Talks at 3. Today we've been talking about be true to yourself. And the question was, do you know who you are? Yeah. So as I leave you, we've got great things happening at Tuesday Talks at 3 and at LMC Consultancy. And all this is around getting coaching sessions. This September, we have got this offer. So if you want one coaching session, all you have to do is jump onto my website and book a course, an online course worth 600 shillings. And once you book it, you qualify for one free coaching worth 5,000 shillings. Otherwise, you can buy my book, which is Awakening Self. Just check out my social media pages and you'll be able to see my book there. I've got 13 fellow authors there, and we write this book together. Buy one book and get 2 coaching sessions worth 10,000 shillings. Other than that, we have more on the lines of offers for you, and we will be able to give them to you on our social media and a bit more information. For today, it's about coaching sessions. So what are you waiting for? You need to be coached. You need to be speaking to me. Just direct message me and I will be able to get these messages and information and the costs your way. Thank you so much. Check out our YouTube page, which is LMC Consultancy. For any of these recordings, this is going to go up by this evening. Share. But remember to hit the notification button. Remember to do that. And next week, our episode will be on focusing on the possibilities. You don't want to miss that. It's going to be as powerful as this one, with 3 takeaways also for you. Invite a friend who will invite a friend. If this has impacted you, bring on more people. So remember to visit our website for our courses and help build one another. So until we meet you at the next episode, be kind to yourself. Bye-bye now.